Hello friends of the French Legion, I am greeting you. You are very welcome on my channel. He is back, Schultz is back in town, he is back in my office and you see a happy man. Today we will talk a little bit about the officers in the French Legion. As you know better than I do, 90% of all officers in the French Legion are Gaulois. Gaulois, what means they are French nationals. 10% of all officers in the French Legion are foreigners. And they are coming from Iceland, from Italy, from Spain, from Sweden, from Germany, from Nepal, from India. They are coming from wherever you want. But they all have one point in common. They all once wear the Capi Blanc on their head. And this is the difference between the 90%, the Gaulois, the French guys, and the 10% foreigners. And when you want to be officer in the French Legion as a foreigner, you need to fulfill three things. You need to be tough, you need to be tougher, and you need to be tougher than the rest. And your French language skills need to be excellent. And then you have two ways to become an officer. Even you have been chosen by the commandement, by your commander-in-chief, because you are just brilliant. Most of the time, then you are young sergeant chef, and then they will send you to an officer school, maybe to the EMI, whatever. And the second way is you have to be major. This is the highest rank as an NCO, and then you can pass officer by concours de major. This is kind of a open competition, you know. And yeah, two ways. Most of the time, it's two ways. And you know, I will tell you a story today about an officer I really liked. He was my idol, like Hessler was, you know. It was in 1988. I was a young greenhorn corporal. I was member of the first company of the second rep, Deuxième Régiment étranger de parachutistes. And we had been in Djibouti for an MCD. MCD is a mission de courte durée. This is kind of show and presence, maybe going to intervention, to operation, doing training, doing maneuver, and this is very perfect. And our headquarters was in Arta, in Camp Amilakwari, and I call it the Eagle Nest. Why Eagle Nest? Because we have been on the top of a mountain, and 360 degrees around, we had three things: monkeys, desert, stones, and rocks. Four things: monkeys, desert, stones, and rocks. Not more. Not more. Sometimes from far you could see the Red Sea, but that's it. The eagle nest of the first company in Arta. Everybody knows it. And nevertheless, 3 or 4 times a month we had to do a static line jump. Most of the time we jumped at the desert, in the desert of Gagade, in Grand Barra, but also in a drop zone called Golf and Hotel. Golf and Hotel. We have 2 of them, Golf and Hotel. It was close to the Quartier du Général Monclin, the headquarters of the 13th DBLE. So once we descended from Arta, we have been transported from Arta to the Camp du Général Monclin by truck, to equip with a parachute and to jump over the drop zone Golf in Djibouti, close to the camp or the Quartier du Général Monclin. And while I equipped with my parachute, I saw a man just standing there, looking at me, watching at me like this. And I thought, what does he want? Who is this guy? And there was a man, a tall guy, like a rock, gray eyes, going slightly into the blue, a head carré, strong shoulders, maybe 190, 1 meter 90 tall, big guy, like a rock. He was looking at me now. What does he want, this gentleman? And then he presented himself. He came closer and said, "Hello, you are the young Caporal Gast from the first company. You are a German guy?" I say, "Oui, mon capitaine." And this young officer just in front of me was Eberle. Mein Gott, Eberle. And Captain Eberle looked at me one more time. Then he turned around and left without a further word. And I thought, wow, I talked with Eberle. When the jump session was over, he was there again, Eberle, and he was waiting for me. And he told me, no, he ordered me, Thomas Gast, you have to visit me in the club company, in the club CCS, Company Commandement de Service. This is kind of headquarter and logistic company, you know, support company. And I said, mon capitaine, non, je peux pas. I cannot do this because I have to go back to Arthur with my company. And he told me, everything is done. I spoke with your captain. You join me in the club CCS in 10 minutes. I was thought, mon capitaine. I did so. And when I found myself in the club company, Eberle was there on the bar, waiting for me, with a coffee in his hand. No coffee, no worky. And there was another gentleman, a German guy, a German legionnaire. He was Adjutant chef, and he was the Spieß, the Kompaniefeldwebel of the company. And he was an old legionnaire, at least 35, 37 years of duty. And you can imagine the scene. I was a young caporal, a young greenhorn. To my right, I had an old icon of the French Foreign Legion, an old dinosaur, Captain Eberle. He was God. For me, it was God. And that's what he said all the time. Mein Gott. That makes him famous. Mein Gott. And then to my left, I had an old adjutant chef who already fought in Indochina in the Algeria war. Crazy. So we had a nice talk because all three of us had been German, and we talked in our language, and it was just stunning. And Eberle told me that, Thomas, you are at the beginning of your career in the French Foreign Legion, and I know from your character that you will stay very long time. But do me a favor. You are German national. You have to be brilliant in everything you do. You have to be the best. You have to be like a bulldog. You have to be excellent in everything you will do for the French Foreign Legion. Whatever it is, because you are German, and German is noblesse oblige. Okay, we are the best soldiers in the French Foreign Legion. That's what he told me all the time. Yeah? He didn't mean it. I know that he didn't mean it, because all legionnaires are good. All legionnaires have the Anspruch to be the best, you know. But that was his speech. He wanted to give me face. He wanted to give me some clear. He wanted to dress my clear way in the French Foreign Legion. And he told me about loyalty, about courage, and about things to do and things not to do and things to avoid, you know. And he gave me some tips and tricks for my future career in the French Foreign Legion. And this was very great. And I saw in Eberle a man who he was like a rock to me, a rock. As I told you before, he was a rock. And I saw in Eberle a man who had strong principles. You know, when he gave his word, it was a word, not a word of an officer. Not the word of the officer, it was the word of a strong man, of an old legionnaire. And he kept his word. He didn't say yes and then turned around and made no. He didn't drink water and afterwards he was preaching wine. No. Eberle, he was boom, what we called carré. And that was it. Eberle, mein Gott. Lieutenant Colonel Hans Eberle was born in Germany in Karlsruhe in November 1946. This was just the aftermath of the Second World War, and he joined the famous French Foreign Legion when he was 19, so he was a young boy, and the Algeria War was just finished. And Eberle at this time, he did never imagine that he should stay 37 years of his life in the French Foreign Legion. Not even 3 years after he joined the French Foreign Legion, Hans Eberle was promoted to be caporal, and caporal in the second rep. And I can tell you this, you can only become caporal when you are the best. And that's what he was. He was always the best of his class. And as caporal, he was chef de pièce mortier, mortarman, you know. He was responsible for an equipe of mortar 81 millimeters. And then he did his first intervention in Chad, 1969. And this was his, what we call in Germany, the Feuertaufe, his first operation under the fire. That's also the place where one of his comrades, his best comrades, Maxime Dupuy, a French national guy, he died, he passed away in the intervention in Chad. And Maxime Dupuy, his best friend at this time, was the first legionnaire killed in action after the Algeria War.
Eberle's first unit was the 2nd Rep, 2e Régiment étranger de parachutistes. The 2nd Rep was stationed in Bousfer in Algeria, and the first Commandant-in-Chief of Eberle, of Hans Eberle, was Commandant Caillot. Caillot, for us, it was a legend. Why? Because once he fought in the Indochina War, in the Vietnam War, with his company, with one company, with the 1st company of the 2nd Rep, in a place called Yetu, against 3 battalions of Viet Minh, and his intervention with his company was a big success, and this makes him famous. So Caillot, he was like Eberle, he was godfather for us. And of course, Eberle was there when the 2nd Rep transferred in 1967 from Bousfer, Algeria, to his new garrison, Camp Rafali in Corsica.
When the war in Chad was over, Eberle quickly became sergeant, and then later on in 74 he was promoted to be sergeant-chef in the 2nd Rep. And but he didn't stay for a long time in the 2nd Rep because he was ordered to join the 13th DBLE to be a mortarman again, but this time with a mortar 120 millimeter, a very powerful mortar of the French Foreign Legion at this time. And he stayed 2 years, and when the time in Djibouti was finished, he was ordered to come back to Calvi again, to Camp Rafali, and he was chosen to be an officer, to visit the officers' course OAEA, what means Officier d'Active École d'Armes. And of course, he did the officers' course, and he was, I cannot imagine other thing, the best of his class. And then, in the age of 35 years, Eberle was lieutenant in the French Foreign Legion. He was officer in the French Foreign Legion. And his motto was Legion forever. Legion forever. French Foreign Legion forever. And as a young Lieutenant Hans Eberle in the 2nd Rep, he was chosen to take over the SML of the 2nd Rep. This is the Section Mortier Lourde, 120 mm of the 2nd Rep, this time in the CEA, Compagnie Éclairage et d'Appui. This is the heavy company of the Rep at this time. And you can imagine that this is very important, because at this time, for the chef de corps, for the commander-in-chief of the regiment, he had 2 jokers. The first joker was the GCP, the CRAP, Commando de Recherche Action dans la Profondeur. This was one joker. And the second joker was the SML. And Eberle, for 2 years, he was chef de section Mortier Lourde in Calvi. And of course, with the section de Mortier Lourde, the 2nd Rep, Eberle was in intervention, in a real intervention, in operation. First time in the Operation Manta in Chad. I think it was in 82, 83, maybe in 84. I'm not sure about this. Anyway, Operation Manta, and then afterwards, an operation in the Central African Republic. In 86, Eberle, Lieutenant Hans Eberle, he get promoted to be Kapitän, and as a Kapitän, he joined the 4th RE, the Männerschmiede, the instruction regiment of the French Foreign Legion in Castelnaudary, and he took over as a Kapitän the 3rd company of the 4th RE. And at this time, I was a young caporal, and I was just promoted caporal in French Guyana. Stunning, right? And 2 years later, in 1988, Eberle, Kapitän Eberle, was ordered to be again back in Djibouti, and there he was Officier TAP, Officier Troop Airporte, responsible for everything who has to do with jump, free fall, static line, whatever, parachute, all these things. And this was the place and the time when we cross in Chiburi. He was Officier TAP, Officier de Troop Airporte, and I was a young corporal of the first company of the second rep. This how we came together, and this is the first time I met Eberle. Oh mein Gott! The next stations of the career of the young officer Hans Eberle was Nîmes, 2nd REI, where he took part in the Operation Desert Storm in the Gulf War. Then he was, of course, involved in the war in Bosnia, and this is what we have common. I was in Bosnia, Eberle was in Bosnia, and then in 96, Eberle was ordered to join the 3rd REI, my old regiment, where he was security officer. And the young and brilliant Eberle, he climbed the ladder of all ranks you can imagine as an officer. He was promoted to be commandant and then to be lieutenant colonel, and lieutenant colonel was his last rank. He meanwhile served in Mayotte, in the détachement Légion étrangère de Mayotte, and when he was 57, he left the French Foreign Legion having 37 years French Foreign Legion in his rucksack. And then again, he had the Cabis Blanc on his head. That's how the officers leave the French Foreign Legion. And once, a journalist asked him, Mon Colonel, you have so many interventions, so many operations behind you. Did you felt fear one time? And Eberle told him, fear? Why should I? I was surrounded by brothers in arms. I was in the French Foreign Legion. There was nothing to have fear. My father was in Stalingrad, and he left a piece of himself in Stalingrad. I think he was his left or his right foot. And these warriors were soldiers, and they had all rights to have fear. I never had fear. I never had fear. Lieutenant Colonel Eberle passed away in 2010. Repose en paix, cher camarade Eberle. Ruhe in Frieden. We will see us in Valhalla.